Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to today's explainer, where we're going to unlock what might just be the single most powerful financial concept in existence. Seriously, imagine for a second that you planted one tiny seed in the ground. Now, instead of that seed just growing into a single solitary tree, imagine it magically grows into an entire forest. And then every single tree in that new forest drops seeds that create even more forests. It sounds completely made up, right? But this is exactly how wealth is built in the real world. Today, we're talking about the secret that literally makes your money grow while you sleep: compound interest. I want you to focus on this single dollar. I mean, it really doesn't look like much, does it? Today, that barely buys you a fraction of a cup of coffee. But I want you to completely change the way you view this $1. Imagine it just effortlessly multiplying. It turns into hundreds, then thousands, and eventually millions, entirely on its own. This isn't some magic trick, and you definitely don't need a massive inheritance to make it happen. You just need to understand the mechanics of how money can actually work for you instead of you constantly working for it. This concept is so mathematically profound that it carries some serious prestige. You've probably heard this famous quote, which is often attributed to Albert Einstein: compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. Now, whether the legendary physicist actually uttered those exact words or not is, well, a bit of a historical mystery. But the truth of the statement? Absolutely undeniable. This mathematical eighth wonder is the very foundation of modern wealth creation. It's the silent, steady engine that has quietly created countless millionaires across the globe. To really grasp how this works, let's look at a totally practical example. Meet Alex and Ben. They're both 20 years old, and they both just got their very first paycheck. They're starting from the exact same point with exactly $100 in their pockets. Right now, their financial reality is identical, but they're about to make two very different choices. Alex decides to place his $100 into an investment account. Ben, on the other hand, decides to treat himself and blows his $100 on a brand new pair of gaming headphones. It seems like such a minor difference today, but these divergent choices are going to drastically alter their financial realities in just a few short years. Before we see what actually happens to Alex and Ben, let's define what Alex just tapped into. Most of us are pretty familiar with simple interest, right? That's when your money just earns a little bit of money. But compound interest is an entirely different beast. Compound interest is when your money earns interest, and then that new interest starts earning even more interest. Think of it like a giant money factory. Your initial dollars are like tiny workers. They go out, they recruit new workers. Then those new workers go out and recruit even more workers. Your army of dollars just grows larger and larger without you having to lift a finger. Let's move to and see how this builds, stage by stage. You start with your initial $100. Let's say it earns a 10% return. Okay, after step one, you have $110. But here is where the magic really kicks in. In step two, you aren't just earning 10% on your original $100 anymore. You're earning 10% on $110. So you jump to $121, then $133, then $146. The growth is completely exponential. Your money factory is expanding, and every single dollar, including the brand new ones, is working around the clock. Now, I know formulas can sometimes look kind of intimidating, but this one is actually beautiful because it is the exact engine turning flat growth into a massive rolling snowball. This is the literal math behind the magic. FV stands for future value, that's your eventual wealth. PV is your present value, your starting amount. The R is your rate of return. But the absolute most important part of this entire equation is that little n hovering up there at the top right. That stands for the number of periods, or time. Because it's an exponent, it means time doesn't just add to your wealth, it multiplies it exponentially. Let's compare this directly. Simple interest against compound interest. With simple interest, your money grows in a flat, straight line. You gain exactly $10 every single time. 110, 120, 130, 140. It's steady, sure, but it's really slow. But look over at the compound column. 110, 121, 133, 146. At first glance, early on, they really don't look all that different, do they? A dollar here, a few extra dollars there, but just watch what happens as the stages progress. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is seeing this separation visually. Look at how the compound growth begins to drastically pull away from the simple interest growth. Time changes everything. Compound interest isn't just increasing the amount of money you have, it is actively increasing the actual speed at which your money grows. The curve bends upward. Your wealth is literally accelerating. Section 1. The power of time, the $1,000,000 example. You see, time is absolutely the most crucial variable in this entire equation. Let's introduce two new characters to illustrate this, Emma and Jake. Emma totally understands the math we just went over, so she starts investing $200 every single month right when she turns 20. Jake, however, decides to hold off for a bit. He waits until he's 30 to start investing that exact same amount, $200 a month. Let's assume they both earn the exact same 10% average annual return on their investments. The playing field is perfectly level, except for their starting ages. Those 10 extra years, they are the ultimate game changer. Because Emma started at 20 instead of 30, she gave her money a massive 10-year head start to build momentum. Even though Jake does exactly the right thing at age 30, Emma's investment mountain becomes enormous compared to his. Emma invested only a little bit more of her own actual cash over those 10 years, yet she ends up with hundreds of thousands of dollars more in total wealth by the time they retire. So the crucial point is this undeniable rule. Time is vastly more powerful than money. You do not need to have thousands upon thousands of dollars to begin building wealth. The ultimate secret to lifelong wealth is simply the amount of time you give your money to compound. The earliest starters almost always beat the highest earners who decide to start late. Time is doing all the heavy lifting in this equation. Section 2. The snowball effect, small habits, massive outcomes. So, how does this massive mathematical concept apply to our everyday lives? Let's look at these daily $5 decisions. $5 feels so small it barely even registers as a choice for most of us, right? But let's look at Sarah, Allie, and John. Sarah quietly invests her $5 every day. Allie spends his $5 on a daily gourmet coffee. John, he buys $5 worth of lottery tickets hoping for a quick win. Over years and decades, Sarah's small daily choice compounds into massive, reliable wealth. Allie's money is simply gone, consumed in the moment. John's money is totally gambled away. That mere $5 daily decision literally shapes their entire financial futures based purely on where they directed it. And here's a kind of mind-bending truth. This concept expands way beyond just money. Everything in your life compounds. Saving money compounds, yes, absolutely. But learning compounds too. The skills you acquire today make it so much easier to learn advanced skills tomorrow. Good habits compound, building a rock-solid foundation for a healthy, productive life. But you have to beware, because bad habits compound just as effectively, creating a massive snowball of negative consequences. Your future is being built right now, one tiny compounding choice at a time. Let's jump back to our initial characters, Alex and Ben, many years down the road. Remember that $100 choice they made? Older Alex is now sitting back enjoying the view of his investments having grown into massive wealth, much like a beautiful city skyline built up over decades. Older Ben, who bought those gaming headphones that likely broke or became totally obsolete years ago, is effectively still starting from scratch. It beautifully and maybe a bit brutally illustrates the life-altering long-term impact of choosing to invest early versus choosing to consume immediately. Now, if you're sitting there feeling like you somehow missed the boat because you didn't start at 20, I really want you to remember this famous proverb. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. Compound interest rewards patience and consistency above all else. Don't stress out about the years that have already passed. Focus entirely on the time you have ahead. You don't need thousands of dollars to start. You literally just need the willingness to plant that seed today. Which brings us to our final thought. You now know the secret that makes money grow while you sleep. You've seen the math, you've seen the snowball effect in action, and you know for a fact that time is your greatest asset. So, I leave you with this question. What will your small compounding decision be today? Will you start small, stay consistent, and let time do the heavy lifting? The math is undeniable, but the first step is entirely yours. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you in the next one.